Good morning, Downingtown STEM Academy. My name is Adi Agarwal, and welcome to STEM TV.
My name is Ryan Chrisman. Welcome back to another episode of STEM TV Quarantine Edition.
Before we start, I would like to make an announcement. STEM TV is looking for new student-submitted segments to add to our show. If you have any talents or have any ideas as to what we could do, check the link in the description below to know how you can help.
To start off this week's episode, we have STEM Sport, hosted by Mitchell. Take it away, Mitchell.
Hello and welcome back to another edition of STEM Sports. I'm your host, Mitchell Weiniger. Let's get into your Sixers 2020-2021 first half schedule outlook. As you may not have known on the time of recording this on Friday, the NBA schedule has been released for the first half of the season for your Philadelphia 76ers. Today we are going to be going over my prediction for the schedule as well as how I think they will turn out. As you can see here on the schedule, they do start their season against the John Wall-less Wizards with Russell Westbrook now taking his place. I believe they will start that game, start off the season with a win, and I think they will win their next two against the Knicks and the Cavs. And then I believe they will take their first loss of the season against Toronto, and then I think they'll win their next four against the Magic, the Hornets, and the Wizards in order to ride that four-game winning streak after the loss to the Raptors. However, I think that does come to an end when they play possibly KD, Kyrie, and maybe James Harden of the Brooklyn Nets. We'll see where that goes. And I think they will lose also their next game against Denver. After that two-game skid, I think the Sixers will come back and win the next two games against the Heat and the Hawks. But I think they'll lose that second game against the Heat on the 14th. Then I think they win against the Grizzlies away in Memphis, and then win against the Thunder on a two-game winning streak. But I think they will split the series against the Celtics, losing the first game on the 20th, however, coming back and winning the 22nd. Then they go to Detroit, and I believe they should win the two games, even though Detroit does seem like a good team on paper. I think they're too unorganized, so I think that will lead to the Sixers taking both games there. Then LeBron comes back in. This is the first game the Lakers and Sixers have played since, unfortunately, the day prior to the crash of Kobe Bryant, which LeBron passed Kobe Bryant in terms of points. Very unfortunate and reconciling death of Kobe Bryant, and also a good outlook to the game on the January 27th as into why it would matter so much. Then I believe they will win that game. I don't know if I said that. And then I think they will come out and unfortunately lose against the Timberwolves. So I think they're going to take that one game, just unfortunately lose it. And then I think they'll win against the Pacers, and I think they'll win against the Hornets. But unfortunately, I think they'll lose to the Damian Lillard and the Portland Trail Blazers. And I think they'll come back and win against the Nets and the Kings. And then I think they will once again unfortunately take a loss against Portland only 7 days after they last played them. But I think they'll go and play Chris Paul's team in Phoenix very well, but unfortunately I do think they will lose. Then they go ahead and play the Utah Jazz, and I believe they will win that game as well as the game against the Houston Rockets. Then I think on the 29th, against the Bulls, they will win, and I believe they will also take the win against the Raptors in one of the two games, but I think they'll lose the second. Then I think they will go in and beat Dallas and Luka Doncic on the 25th at home. Then they play the Cavs. I can see them winning that game. Unfortunately, I do see them losing to either the Pacers or the Jazz, respectively, but I see that more happening against the Pacers. So I'll say the Sixers finish out their first half of the season with a W against the Jazz. So that brings my prediction to a record of 25-11 for the Sixers, and that would be an improvement off of last year's. Let's see if Ben Simmons and crew can carry this team into a new position and hopefully not get swept in the first round like previous years. Well, this has been your 2020-2021 Sixers season preview with Mitchell Weiniger. See you next week.
Thank you, Mitchell, for the sports update. Ryan, what's up next?
Next up, we have STEM Happenings, hosted by Aparna. As always, she will be conducting an interview. Let's hand it over to her now.
Hello, Downingtown STEM Academy, and welcome back to STEM Happenings. This is your host, Aparna Magbala, and this week we'll be getting to know another one of our wonderful Downingtown STEM Academy teachers. Joining us today is Mr. Callback. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So let's get into it. How have you been doing, Mr. Callback?
So far, we are surviving and at sometimes thriving. I've actually myself had to quarantine for a situation that happened in our home. So I've experienced the virtual, I've experienced the hybrid. I've had a wide introduction to what it's like to be here.
Yeah, I know with quarantine, Thanksgiving this year was a little bit weird, and it's been a week now since we've come back, but how did you celebrate Thanksgiving in a way that stayed safe, but still kind of maintained the spirit of what Thanksgiving's all about?
Yeah, so in my house, we stayed home, and it was my wife, my 2-year-old, and myself. And we recognize that Thanksgiving is a variety of foods, and usually for us, an aunt brings one thing, an uncle brings another, your grandparents bring something, and we realize, to have a full Thanksgiving meal for one person is a lot of work. So we actually spread it out across the week, and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we had different highlights with a ham and some turkey. My sister brought over some extra food for us, and our family took care of us as well. So we got the full experience of the food, but we certainly missed the element of the family.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. I know that everyone kind of missed out on those gatherings with family and friends, but everyone maintained that like thankfulness and that atmosphere of keeping in mind what we're all grateful for.
Yeah.
So, moving on to our next question, how has hybrid school been going? Everyone seems to finally be getting the hang of this new model. So, how have you and your students been doing?
I found initially hybrid was definitely a challenge. Trying to determine how to balance your efforts and your energy. I think initially I felt like I was giving 100% to everything, but the kids at home and the kids at school were getting 50% of each. And what we're learning is how to modify lessons to make it that there's times for kids on Zoom to be able to go off and have creative moments together, and there's time for discussions in class. So it's a growing experience, and I would be a liar if I said that I've got it down at all so far. But we pitched this idea at this school of the growth mentality, right? We're always growing, and so at this point, I would say, we've reached a stability, and we're starting to, grow as we do that. I think that a lot of the kids, certainly that are coming in, I've just been having such a good time getting to know them. I don't know about you, but for me, one of the weirdest things is on Zoom, you see from the neck up generally. And so I get kids coming in that I assumed they were 5'4" and they're 6'4". And I get kids that I thought were 6'4" and they're 5'4". So it's really fun just to meet somebody that you've known. And that's such an odd concept in this day and age, to know somebody for an entire quarter of a school year and then meet them for the first time. So it's been exciting, it's been challenging, but it's been, a good journey so far.
Right. It's like meeting everyone all over again when you finally get to see their face in person.
Yeah.
And it's great to see how students and teachers have really been making the most of the situation, whether it's doing clubs through Zoom or trying to stay connected and keep everyone engaged, even though they might be at home or at school. It's been going kind of interestingly. It's really cool to see how that's been going.
Absolutely.
And now for a random question. If you were stranded on a deserted island, what is the one thing that you would take with you?
Okay. Ooh, man. My wife will kill me for this answer, but I would probably take my 2-year-old son, because he's energizing. I think a lot of times people think that kids are draining, but my son is very energizing. He's a ball of energy. He is curious. He's excitable. He's fun loving, and he's a good snuggler. He likes to give hugs. So I think if I was on an island, I would just hang out with my little buddy and I would take care of him. I don't think I'm going to go the logical route of a tool or a resource or a flashlight. I'm just going to say I'm going to hang out with my buddy and assume that it's 2020 and people will fly by at some point.
Well, thank you for kind of answering that question, even though I kind of put you on the spot there.
You did. I'll take it.
So finally, we've come to the last question, and I've asked every teacher on STEM Happening so far the same question. What life advice do you have for the students that are watching this interview now?
If I'm going to contextualize that question within our current circumstances, I see a lot of students that are having a hard time with the mental and emotional aspects of school. It's not just an academic undertaking, it is a social and emotional task to be able to survive in this environment. So I would just say, um, be curious. Be curious about the world. Be curious about your teachers, your classes, and approach things with an intent that you just want to learn more. You want to understand more. And I think curiosity and an understanding that we will never know it all, but we always just want to know something more can sometimes contextualize school a little bit different for you. It's not about coming and stressing about assignments and A's and B's and grades and summatives and formatives. It's about showing up and just wanting to learn and wanting to engage with people in the process of learning. So I guess in a pandemic hybrid educational environment, that would probably be one of my biggest tips is just be curious and enjoy the process.
Thank you so much for those words of advice. And that's all we have for you today on this interview. Thank you so much for joining us on STEM Happenings, Mr. Colback.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a blast.
As always, I'll be back soon with another interview. But until then, have a great week, STEM Academy. Bye.
See you guys.
Thank you, Aparna, for the interview. If you would like your club to be in STEM TV, check the description below to see how you can enter.
With the increasing number of cases in our county, we want to remind you to stay safe by wearing a mask over the mouth and nose at all times, except when eating, and to stay 6 feet apart in the hallways when moving between classes. Don't forget to follow all the other rules outlined by Mr. Campbell in his videos about returning to in-person learning at STEM that are posted on STEM Student Life.
And before we go, I would like to make one more announcement. If you would like to join STEM TV and be an anchor such as me or Ryan, or be a thumbnail artist or an editor, please check the link in the description below to see how you can join us.
That's all we have for you today, Downingtown STEM Academy. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you again next week with another episode of STEM TV Quarantine Edition.